Hi, welcome everyone to this awesome workshop. Are we on or not? Yes, we are. All right, I'm super excited about today because we have a lot to talk about. And definitely the recent period has shown that classical sales methods are facing a major change in the future, not just in store sales, but also in B2B sales and sales methods. So technology has been really advancing, and we have someone who is very, very excited about supporting the corporate and retail sales of the future. He's into making sales more interesting. I wonder how that goes. So let us please welcome Dénes Simonyi, manager of Deloitte Digital. Hi.
Hi, Taisir. Thanks for the warm words. And I also want to welcome the others. And I want to thank you for taking the time after this rough week you had.
Oh,
so
well,
basically,
anything for you.
thanks. And anytime you have any questions, you just you can write in the chat, and you can also just just ask Taisir. So great. Then let's get started. When I was thinking after getting contacted to talk on this brain bar, what should I talk about? Because my friends, they don't really understand what I do. They some think that I am Marty Khan from House of Lies. Others think that I only brew coffee for my bosses. Whereas some things that I just have a job to smile and not politely to the clients. But in reality, I work on technology consulting projects, on IT transformation projects, and I also work on CRM and sales processes simplification projects. And I thought that what is more futuristic than making sales be more effective and how we could implement technological updates. But first of all, let me just introduce myself. So my name is Dénes Simonyi, and you have pronounced that very well. And I'm a salesman ever since I was born. I was trying to sell my smiles and cries to my parents so that they would prioritize me over what they were doing. I was also trying to convince my school teachers that they would give me better grades than I deserved based on my knowledge.
That work?
Most of the times it did. And some of my high school friends, they still are angry with me that I got such good grades without learning too much. And I've been also trying to sell my knowledge and expertise to my boss and also to other companies, be it Big Four on the client side. So that's who I am. And I thought that we are basically all a little bit of a salesman, right?
Except for me, of course.
I'm sure you do that sometimes. And as you very well mentioned in the beginning, sales and retail are not the same. So a lot of people mix that up. And what the difference is, so sales is basically selling anything to anyone, whereas retail is mostly selling things in the shop or directly to consumers. And I have also looked up the Cambridge Dictionary just to be sure that what I think is correct. And turned out that a salesman is a man whose job is selling directly to the consumers and things in the shop. So like a car salesman or a traveling salesman or the door-to-door salesman we had in the past, we don't really have that anymore. And this means that the salesman connects the companies with the sales targets, right? We do see the sales targets on the right of the screen. And we will also have a look first on the sales, the types of sales that people can do. And I'm also very displeased with the researches that I've seen in the past couple of months because they were mostly focusing on retail, which is only part of sales. And you know, COVID has changed a lot of how people go to the shops and how they do their shopping. But sales is not just about that. So let's look at the sales types. One of them is basically how people can sell. They can sell in their own company's name, or they can sell in the name of other companies like agents and resellers do, for example, insurance. You can also categorize by the channel they are selling through, like e-commerce or retail or wholesale. And you can also categorize by the automation level, like you just have your general grocery store, but you can also have these automated retail machines you get the lunch sandwich from, or in more developed countries, you have the wholly unmanned convenience stores that you just go in and you don't even see anyone selling anything. So sales is not only done by the salesman, as I was telling you my story, but it's done by basically anyone. So let's focus on the targets. Who are they selling to? So I call them targets because it's not just consumers or customers or clients, because that depends on the industry we are in. For example, in my case, I'm a consultant and my clients are the sales targets, or for me, the targets are the clients. And when you go to the shop, you are a consumer. So that's the main difference there. And these consumers or targets, they got a lot more conscious in the past couple of years because they just got so much more information available. They have so much more options. So first off, we can just have this thought about this girl, Lena. She's a Gen Y person, you know, and she's always shopping, but she's never waiting in the line. She never logs in, but she's always online. And she does not have a car, though she always drives one. So Lena is a digital customer, and she expects 24-hour service of the service providers. And she's not alone. All the consumers are doing that currently. All of us, we are digital consumers. According to research, 87% of us do our researches before going into the shop, and we have a very good idea of what we want to buy.
Absolutely.
I know you're smiling. You do that, right?
Yeah, unless I'm just in a shopping spree mode and I have a lot of money on my hands that I want to just like waste everywhere.
We're gonna go into that actually just in a bit.
Great.
So you were right on target. Maybe I'm your sales target. Because the past year have seen the skyrocketing of e-commerce, right? Because of COVID, people couldn't go to the shops, and e-commerce grew 125% year on year. And this is quite obvious because you know, when people cannot go outside and they are depressed, like what you were just showing me, what do you do when you're depressed?
Excessive shopping.
Yeah, you do shopping, and when you cannot leave your house, what do?
Shop even more online.
Right, so that's what led us to the online shopping spree. And you would think, I ask you first, what do you think online shopping about online shopping? Is it more or less time consuming?
I mean, the options are a lot. Like we have a lot of options, so I'm gonna think that it's more time consuming because no, actually, let me rethink that because sometimes I do the shopping without checking a review of the product. So let's say if I'm just buying because I know that that brand is a famous one, so I'm like, just okay, let's waste some money there.
So basically, you got it both right, because first off, you would think that online shopping takes more or takes less time because you don't have to wait in line, blah blah. But in the other end, you have all those choices. You go to eBay or Amazon or the local online shops, and you spend so much more time reading the reviews and everything. So all in all, the answer is that you spend less time online shopping, but selecting that one product might take more time, right? And the difference that that companies can differentiate themselves, what companies can differentiate themselves by, is more and more leaning towards mindset. I don't know if you've noticed that, but in the past, companies didn't really take a stance on political or social issues. But as of late, there were companies that had, like food companies that had Donald Trump as their icon, or Adidas and Nike. They were promoting Black Lives Matter. And the issue with that, why companies didn't dare to do that in the past, was that this way they would lose a certain group of people for sure, and they would also gain another part of the consumers. But now Fox News showed us. I don't know if you've seen TV shows or movies about that, but there's been a couple that I've seen. I like The Loudest Voice, and it showed that Fox News became the biggest and most watched cable news company because they just picked this one group of people that they really want to push their message to, and people are more open for that. And that's what companies were doing in the past. couple of years.
I really want to say a comment about the kind of people who watch Fox News, but I will refrain from that and let you finish your presentation.
Thank you, because Nike is just on the other side of that, promoting Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen the sales targets, we've seen how the other side sales can work, but what does connect these two sides? That's the sales methods, right? We got the sales methods, that lovely bear in the middle that I was asking you about, if you know anything about bears. So there's this little known concept of how sales work, but I'm going to share it with you today. And I have already mentioned Cambridge Dictionary, so let's just come up with another great British expert, Sir David Attenborough. You know him, right, Sir David?
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the most well-known natural historians, and he has some great TV shows and some about bears as well. So I ask you this question again. Do you know anything how sales and bears could be connected? Or do you have any idea about that?
Well, not unless you start selling stuff to bears. No, not really.
No, it's not going to be about bear food. It's not going to be about bears, but it's going to be about the mating bears do. So how they make love and how do they find their partners. So
this is the least, like, I've never ever would have expected anybody to talk to me about bears mating, you know, and I've had some really interesting talks these few days, you know. But go on, please enlighten me.
Yeah, I've seen that our attendees just jumped a lot. Maybe
Yeah,
bears
and let me remind them that they can ask their questions if they have any. Just pop a question in the chat box and we'll have it delivered right to us.
Yeah, maybe we'll also have Sir David joining us today.
Awesome.
So let's go back to the bears. So just a couple info. Grizzly bear females keep their cubs around for 2.5 years, and that leaves only 2/3 of the female bear population available for the grizzly bears, for the male bears to choose from. And also, you know, their territory is diminishing because of global warming and everything, and people killing off trees and stuff. But that still leaves a lot of room and area for the bears to cover to find their loved ones. Yeah, you got me still, right? So you didn't lose interest.
I'm very happy for the bears.
So we have this lovely bear here. It's called Cody, and you know, he's looking for love, and he's looking for the love of his life and the mother of his children. And there are two ways Cody could go. Like, first off, if Cody was lucky and from childhood he had a female bear around him, he would only have to befriend this female bear and get close and intimate. And if they're lucky enough, they can just make kids. And in CRM terms, we are calling this brownfield, when the customer and the provider are already connected. And this way, the consumer believes in the company, and it's easier to sell them whatever. It's not easy, but it's easier. But what if Cody, our bear, wasn't so lucky and he would have to find a female friend, right? That's a bit tougher. So he still has two options. Option number one is that the female that he chooses does not have a male friend. This way, Cody only has to find the female bear and has to get intimate and has to make sure that she accepts him. In the bear world, it's a lot tougher than in the human world, because a lot of times male bears eat female bears. So the female bears really are scared of male bears.
What? Really?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about bears anymore.
They're not as nice as they look on the pictures. But translating this to business terms, we call them greenfield customers, when the company does not have a connection to the consumer, and they have to spend a lot of money and time and effort, so the customer believes them and trusts them. The other option Cody has is that the female that he chooses, he already has a male partner.
Come on.
Sorry about that, but we had to go into this. This way, Cody's work is a lot tougher, because first off, he has to fight off the male bear, and he also has to convince the female bear that he's a better choice. he has to show some unique and strong selling points to the female bear, right?
Is that competition?
It is competition, right? You're following me. So in business terms, that means that it's even more costlier to get a customer that is already connected to another producer or provider. And even though it's not as impossible as it seems on the picture we have here, because it happens in the real world, but companies do spend a lot of money on IT developments and on consultants, so they can have better offerings and better CRM systems than the competition has. So yeah, that's the bears. And you would think that the mating of bears is already very complex, but it's still not quite as complex as the sales process or the entirety of options that salespeople have. Like, could you imagine word of mouth? Do you know what word of mouth is? I'm sure you know. Okay, so could you imagine Cody's friend bear telling this female bear that Cody is a great guy and he has great DNA, so you should befriend him? I don't think that works with bears. And the other thing that I was thinking that maybe, you know, Cody could have an option of cross-selling products, like he's going up to this female bear and he tells them that I give you a seagull and a penguin if we mate. Yeah, that does not work either.
That doesn't work that way, yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the original question, if the salesman is dead, why would he be? Right? So our salesman, it's a middleman. And I have three big topics that are killing the salesman. First off, digitalization, which is about minimizing human effort and maximizing computing power, right? CRM, that's been around for quite a while now, its biggest selling point is that it can predict the next best offer the customer would like to have. And also traveling agents are being undermined by video chats and these direct marketing calls that everyone hates. And our consumer, they can just go online and they can do their research and they don't really have to move out of their couch. So these are all cutting out the middleman. Like, I don't know if you bought a car in Hungary that you've been here so far, or if you bought a TV.
I'm 22 and don't have a driver's license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
but
you're not really the target group for a car producer.
I'm sorry.
But I bought my TVs that I did my research online. I filtered down a couple of products, and I also went to different sites that are comparing the prices, and then I just ordered online and they delivered to my home. I never really had to go to MediaMarkt or anywhere because yeah, I didn't have to. I had all the choices and all the information I needed. So digitalization is really killing off salesmen. And then there is also one other thing that that is killing off the salesman, that jobs, I don't know if you knew that, but they do have natural lifespans. Like professions, they age out after a while. I don't know if, yeah, you probably know these ones like tailors, bakers, butchers, or even prostitution. That's been around for more than 2,000 years. But some other jobs were not this lucky. Like, I don't know, ice delivery man, if you heard of them, or street lamp lighters, or even knocker-ups.
Wow, okay.
So knocker-up, even though we were talking about mating so far, it's not about knocking up that way. But they are...
Funny salesman, how rare is that? Just like as rare as seeing a white grizzly bear,
No, so knocker-ups, they were people that were waking up other people that wanted to go to their work in the 19th century, but there was still no alarm clock. So these people would just walk around with long sticks and they would just knock on the window of people.
Oh my God,
I don't see
whoever,
them.
I'm so glad I wasn't born at that time, because right now I have to set like 400 alarms to actually wake up.
Yeah, that would be quite pricey for knocker-ups. So professions, they can survive as we've seen with, let's say, prostitution, but they do have to adapt to innovation. And like healers, they became doctors, and they learned actual medications, and they don't just lobotomize people when they have headaches anymore, right? So salesmen could also survive, but they have to learn how to use technology for their advantage, and there is a chance, a slight chance that I see. But then came 2020. That was the rise of TikTok and also a pandemic that we haven't really imagined before. And COVID-19 was also killing the way people could sell or salesmen could sell. Like for example, in my case, usually our sales process is in person, but since COVID really didn't give us any chance of in-person meetings, it really did change the landscape for our selling procedure. And yeah, I think COVID really put a nail in the coffin of the salesman. Yeah, actually, this is a great movie. You should watch. It's a bit deep, The Death of the Salesman. But wait for a bit more. And I don't want to kill the salesman just yet, because I think we got some more time that we can discuss this topic. So I was thinking what movies were predicting for 2020, and I'm just going to give you a couple ideas. So we had the Blade Runner, the original one in 1982, that predicted that we're going to have flying cars and humans colonizing space. Then Back to the Future, that was past 5 years ago, but we still don't have hoverboards or self-tying shoes, and also no flying cars. And then iRobot, Quiet Place, and Pacific Rim, they all predicted that we're going to be taken over and invaded by robots or aliens. And then Terminator's Killing Machine. I don't know if you knew that, but this robot was apparently from 2020, but I didn't really see that happening just yet. Yeah. And then there is this great movie, Soylent Green. I have not seen the movie, but read a lot about the movie. It was in the 70s, and the crazy thing was that it predicted that we're going to have overpopulation and climate change, and people would not have enough food to eat. But there was this company come as a savior, and they were producing this Soylent Green, and it was made out of people. Yeah, and people didn't know that.
Surprising me, really, you keep surprising me, and I don't know if my heart can. Like, I haven't really. This is okay. First it's bears, and now it's wow, soil made out of people. Okay,
Yeah, it's quite scary. Also, if you turn this to sales terms, yeah, flying cars, people would need flying cars all over the place to fly. And if we had this quiet place where you couldn't give out any sounds because the aliens would kill you, you would really need these soundproof rooms and everything. So that would be a completely new sales area we could go into. But luckily, none of these really exist, or I hope they don't. And what did the industry experts say? So in 2012, 8 years ago, 60% thought that by 2020, companies would be understanding individual customer characteristics and customer needs. It does work somehow. Also, 60% of the companies would be working on simplifying the products and processes. That does work as well. And experts thought that we're going to have online communication and social media as the #1 social interaction channel. That is somewhat not right. A year later, in 2013, it was predicted that salesmen would be dropped, like a lot of salesmen would let go, and companies would not need so many salesmen as they did 7 years ago. They thought that people would be less price dependent. I'm sure you heard some great presentations that people became even more price dependent as of late. And they thought that the commission-based compensation systems that salesmen would be working on would completely change, and that's not the case either. So I'm not sure that the experts got everything right. The movie certainly did not get it right. But I will give you a blink to the future, or at least what I think the future could be. First off, I just give you a number, 36%. Could you guess what that is?
The decrease of the number of salesmen around the world.
Could be, but not. This one is not that number, or not yet. So 36% is the time that salespeople spend on actual selling. That means 64% of their time is not spent on money generation. They spend this time on administration, service tasks, traveling, or even system downtimes, which is the most annoying thing for a salesman. So that means that the most expensive commodity, the human resources, is not spent very well by companies. So how do they try to counter that? yeah, I just let you take in all these little words
Dots,
there.
colors, and pretty stuff. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I will ask all of them back in the end. So please, yeah, just
A
memorize
notepad,
that.
just like.
Yes, so basically this was done by our Deloitte digital experts, and these are some of the up and coming things, and some of these technologies are already available. But companies are trying to use these to maximize sales. And yes, some are like machine learning, AI, predictive analytics, or NLP, CRM. So all these techie things that you have heard this past week, like
Yes.
CRM, and the biggest or best CRM system, supposedly Salesforce, is saying that segmentation and customer scoring is the most important thing. Why would you think that is so? Yeah,
The
consider the bears. Just think about the bears. Our bear Cody. What would he do if he had a segmented and a prioritized list of the female bears?
well, he's in a lot of luck. I'm telling you that. So
Right, because you know, if he had a list of all the female bears within a 3-day walking range, then he wouldn't have to walk all around. He could just pick the one that has, yeah.
the closest. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same with salesmen. If they had this list, they can save a lot of time and effort, and it's a lot safer. So let's jump into the future, as I was telling you. I know that you don't have a driver's license, as you just said, and you don't really care about cars, if I could read your lips correctly. But so 10 years from now, by 2030, I was playing this idea and how I would buy a car and what would happen. So consider that the shared car with services will not completely take over this process, and we will not only drive shared cars, but we would still have our own cars. So as my car sales lease plan or car lease plan is coming to an end, I would be contacted by a chatbot, and they would ask me questions, what my satisfaction is, what I like about the car, what I didn't. Then if it's getting even closer to the end of the lease period, I'd be contacted by my trusted service operator who would know that my car is running out in a couple of weeks or months. He would also know that I've been promoted based on my LinkedIn profile, and he would also know that my boys are starting primary school. He would know that during the summer months I like to spend time on the countryside, and that I like to drive longer distances. And furthermore, he also knows that I like to get out to the hills and speed around curvy roads. And one thing that this AI couldn't tell him is, I really hope so, that sometimes I do drive in forbidden secret lands that nobody else should know about. But this means that he would already have a very well built up persona about me, and he would have 3 configurations of 3 different cars available. I would be offered the choice of doing a test ride personally, or having a look with my 3D virtual reality glasses, or even if I had an Xbox, I could just drive it in the driver simulator. And although and all this, I wouldn't have to wait 2-3 months if I'm lucky, because these customer insights and predictive analytics could also tell the car producers that I will need this car by the time I make the decision, and it would be already just running up the production side, so I wouldn't have to wait. But even if I had to wait, I could just download the car pick to the driver simulator, and I could drive it at home if I am just very much longing for my car. And I do know that BrainBar is about future and these future trends, and they are looking for the next big thing. But I just want to keep you down to the earth a bit longer.
So the
That's
car
fine.
is not flying?
The
Come
car is
on,
not
this
flying.
is what I had in mind the whole time. Okay, fine. But
I'm
I'm still
sorry, we don't have flying cars in 10
with
years for sure. So basically, what's available and what is not available out of all these that I was telling you. So the chatbot, it's available. It's not very good in Hungarian language so far, so it's quite language dependent. But in English, it's quite good, and it can also use these.
surprised.
What was that? Sorry.
I'm not surprised by the fact that the chatbots are not that great at Hungarian, because I've been here for 3 years and I can barely say thank you. So
You should learn that by the end of this presentation. You will have to learn that.
but like I
So
already have the other segments that you taught me that you said that I should learn. Don't you think that's too much for me?
No, that was just 50 points, and now that one word extra is okay. So then the CRM connected to the social networks, that's available as well. So companies could use that, and they could know that my kids are going to school out of my credit card usage data, and also they could use 5G and IoT sensors to learn my driving, and they could also connect these things. And also one big thing that car producers are suffering by or because of is that people buy the car that doesn't really fit them. Like they have an extra, they pay a lot of extra for, let's say, extra horsepowers or the leather seats, but they don't really need it. And because so like they are not really built into a persona, and the companies don't match these personas with their offerings, people buy cars that they don't really need. And if you imagine Netflix or Spotify giving you always these what to watch next, what to listen, car producers could do something similar based on the data. And also the virtual reality glasses, they are available. So some of these are available already, and some are not. And I will also go into details, high-level details, why companies cannot just yet do these. But some of the audience, I'm sure, they are CRM experts. I know at least about one. And I'm sure that they caught that something is off about what I was telling you about CRM systems, because
I'm waiting for you to tell me what's wrong with this, because this all seems so perfect, and you said you're predicting the future, so I'm a bit concerned. Do you see the future? Can you tell me what's going to happen to me next week? Am I dying? No?
no, you're not.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't show me your hands, but
Are you reading my palms?
yes, the palm reading, but no. Right, so CRMs, they were based on customer interactions, and because of COVID, people don't really go to the shops, and they don't call the contact centers so often. So there are less and less contacts with the consumers. And this means that the CRM systems do not work as great as they were planned to. So companies have to find new ways of getting information and getting touch points with the consumers. And basically, these are the social media that they can connect to, and they can get these touch points and information from there. So it's clear that sales is changing, and digitalization and automation might be killing these sales agents. What's your take now? 50-50. What do you think? More killing or more surviving?
I think we're moving a bit like slow. Like I think we have the technologies, but the policies and the rules take time. So it's gonna be like the pace is not that fast. I think it's gonna take a
But
few
they're
more.
dying, you're saying.
Yeah, well.
All right. Let's just wait with that. I want your take in the end. So as I was saying, companies are not there yet, and one reason they are not there yet is that the IT system architecture, whenever we talk to our clients, comes up as a big issue. These bigger companies that's been around for, let's say, more than 20 years, 100 years, they always have these old and complex, robust IT architecture that's very hard to change. And they really need to clean out the closet. They have to start off from scratch, and there are a lot of different ways to do that.
So
And
this is actually related to the first question that we got from the audience. We have someone who asked, you talked about softwares that salesmen are predicted to use, but what type of hardware is going to be expected in the future? So I'm guessing your answer is actually going to be here. What a coincidence.
Yeah, so basically hardware and software, it has to be interconnected very well. And that's one big problem that currently, by a lot of our clients, they come up with software that is good for one, let's say, Android, but it doesn't work so great with iOS. Yeah, they have to align that, and they have to make a decision if they want to make it hardware dependent or hardware independent. And always testing is going to be an issue when it's hardware independent. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. But maybe in the future we're not going to have so many different type of operating systems, and it's just going to be one big system that everyone uses. Hope not.
I hope they give it a nice name though.
Maybe the Bears, the Grizzly. Okay, yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is that whenever companies come up with these IT architecture landscape change and coming up with the new systems, they have to keep in mind the strategy KPIs, because many times they do these changes without the business leading it, and to reach successful system implementation, they have to keep these KPIs in mind, like if it's the client satisfaction they want to raise, or if it's the time to market of the new products that they want to speed up, or if the customer lifetime value is really what they aim for. So that's one thing they cannot forget. And also about what I was telling you, that the sales will look like in 10 years, it was all about data, right? And how these companies must use the data. And the thing is that companies don't really use data properly yet. It's not because they don't have the data, it's just that they do not put the data in proper order, and they don't make up these personas about us. And there was this report from Salesforce that was saying that the difference between low and high performers is that high performers 150% are 150% more likely to base their forecasts on data, and that they are 5 times more likely to use AI. And you would assume that these companies would let go of sales staff because they don't need them, because they have the data and the data analysts coming up with all these information. But it turned out that those companies that did this, they were 76% of them that was using AI since 2015. They have raised the number of salespeople. So this means that tech, instead of leading to let go of salesmen, is increasing the number of salesmen. And also it means that the salesmen can spend their time on more value-added services, like the AI can help them to fill in the CRM information, the administrative tasks it can just do instead of them. It can put together the target list that I was telling you Cody would love to have, and also the phone calls that they do could be a lot shorter, because the information that they have prepared before is just saves them a lot of time. And this means that the salespeople could spend time on people and not with computers.
Yeah, so that 36% that you mentioned would be much higher.
Right. Right. It could be. It could increase to anywhere, but probably it couldn't be 100%, because obviously they would need training, and system downtime will be there always. For
you hate it
time.
so much, don't you?
No, I love it when things don't work as they should.
Because you learn from that. That's why, right?
Yes, you have to do something new always. But why is the salesman not dead? Do you think they are dead, or they are not dead?
I mean, I'm talking to you, so.
They're not. Okay. So as I was thinking about this presentation and reading researches, I just came across a very funny research in the Netherlands that was about the Generation Z, and it gave me like data that I wasn't really expecting. So what I was expecting, and it also said that 50% of the Gen Z people, they do like the apps to shop on, and they do trust the word of mouth of their friends. But it also said that 60% of people, they like the digital experience, and they still want to go to the shops, and they just love the experience they have in shops. So yeah, that's one thing why salesmen cannot be that, because that's why people go to the shops, to meet other people. Yeah, also I know that how convincing salespeople could be. I remember when I was about 20 years old, and there was this blonde girl that I was chasing, and she was working in a jeans store, and yeah, I was just walking in front of the store this way and that way, and then I was brave enough to go inside, and I told her I need jeans, and then she said, okay, try these on, and I tried them on. They didn't fit. Yeah, I could barely put them on, and she said, they look great on you, and I almost bought just because I thought that this way I could, yeah, I could sell myself to her, but luckily I didn't buy the jeans because they were the
And
most expensive pairs.
and then you remembered that you're not a bear and there are other ways to mate, right?
Yeah, but not with her. And also how much people need human relationships, and I think this past year was a great example of that because yeah, people were stuck at home, and those ones that were lucky enough to be together with their loved ones, I think they were a lot less depressed, and they were a lot less touched by this COVID
Absolutely.
situation. And even the ones that have social anxiety, they do they still need some sort of human touch. And also I had this pre-baked frozen bread at home, and I just went to the shop to the same baker instead of just heating that up because I just wanted to talk to the baker for that 1 minute just to have some human interaction.
Are you sure there wasn't the hot blondes in there and that's why you went?
No, I'm sure I know this baker guy, and he's not the hot blonde.
Okay, sure. Let me believe you now.
But what is sales really? I don't know if I made some points, but what I want to highlight here is that sales is about the salesman making sure that the sales target believes in what he's giving him, is what he's promising. And as we've seen with Cody, our bear, building trust is the most important. He's building trust that he's not gonna eat the female bear. And the most important is that they become the trusted partner of the sales targets, and they have to show that they are in it for the long run, not just want to, rub them off quickly. That they put the client's interest first, not their own interest, and that they do what they promise. And in the end, that builds up trust in the targets or the consumers.
I think
And
certainty is a very, very important element in the sales process, because if you're not certain of the product that you're selling, or if you do not convey that feeling that you know what you're talking about and you have faith in your product and you know that your product worked, I don't think you'll manage to actually make some good sales and establish like loyal customers on the long run.
yeah, that's one thing. You might sell something, but you're never gonna build up loyalty, and that's
Exactly.
very important in sales. And basically, salesmen will be supported by robots and automation, AI, and algorithms. But in the end, I am convinced that human interaction will be needed because the human touch is very important. And I've never seen a robot that is more interesting to go to dinner with than a person. So yeah, I don't think that robots will really take over the salesman's job. I only think that answering our question in the beginning, if the salesman is dead, that it's not the death of the salesman, but it's the death of the lazy salesman that the future is bringing us.
Wow, that's a really strong finish you got there.
Yeah, I was building up for this.
Well, you did great. You proved that you are a salesman, building.
So are you buying my bear idea?
Absolutely. I bought it the first time I saw you, so you got me.
Thanks. I just published a book about bears.
Well, we have another question, and the question is, how do you think that the personal side of sales will be affected now that the physical side became heavily affected due to COVID?
Yeah, I was actually facing that myself, that it was very hard to get our clients to meet in person. And I think that with those clients that you have a connection with already, it might be easier because this trust was already built up. But really, what really is suffering is building up these new trusted connections, because building up these connections through video chats or just calls and projects being online but not in person, they don't really have this. Yeah, it's hard to give over this personal touch. But from one point, it's not great for the let's call them pre-COVID salesmen, but for those ones that really are experts, and the ones that not just talk about nothing but have something behind it. Those ones they could thrive in this era.
All right, okay. That was a very convincing answer. Thank you. Let me see if we have any more questions. Audience, please don't be shy. We're still here to answer your questions if you have any. I think Dinesh gave some really, really interesting points and some really interesting examples, and bears and blonde girls and bakers. You brought out everything like a magician.
That's what I learned in college, that if you study marketing, you will have to talk about anything for 5 minutes. So yeah, that's how you can read if a person is working in marketing or consulting.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we have a double question. Actually, are you ready for this? So, is the salesman community getting older, and is it difficult to find new, younger talent?
Okay, so there was a very interesting article that I wrote about this. That depends on the industry. Like the insurance industry is really suffering because of this. That the sales agents, they are all aging out, and it's very hard to convince the younger generation of people that sales is cool. And I have also seen this in the industry of what's construction, in the construction industry, that that younger people, they don't really like it because yeah, it seems to them that sales is not it's just not cool, and it doesn't take so much brain power, and it's looked down on. And because of that, yeah, it's true, the question is true, it's aging out. But luckily they didn't ask the question, how could it be changed?
Maybe you can answer that question then.
So what I was thinking is that, for example, in the insurance sector, it could be made cool with teaching them that how, or that's what they are trying to do, to teach them what why the product is so great and how the product can help people, and also that they could give them gadgets that people like let's say if you get an iPad as a 20-year-old as your only tool that you have to use in your job, it's cool, and it's not like you have to walk around with papers and a laptop and a phone and everything, but you just have this one iPad, and everything, all the software is working seamlessly, and you don't have system downtime times. And also one thing that the new generation is really eager to is that they want to see the result of their work put in. And that's one thing that sales normally does, if the commission system is done properly, is that you get out what you put in. You know, you can get unlucky sometimes, but in a certain period of time, you will have, based on the numbers, you just, yeah, the work put in will give its results.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question. Our audience is really excited. I think they liked your presentation. That's for sure. They're asking, what did you learn about sales from Marty Khan, whom you mentioned?
Oh, Marty Khan. I don't really want to cite him because I think then we would be banned from BrainBar for the future.
Let's not do that.
But basically what Marty Khan was preaching is that, how is that put nicely in English? That the means, what's that phrase? Are you gonna help me out on this?
I can.
Okay, so whatever you do, yeah, you just have to be able to look in the mirror, and that's what he was facing in the beginning of the TV show, that he was doing a lot of crazy things, but in the end, I think he became a better person.
So what you learned from him was that you can become a better person.
Yeah, you can become a better person if you put the clients first and not just your own selfish interest. And that's what he was doing in the beginning, and in the end, he was building up something, and he was becoming more human.
I guess, yeah, we all need that, you know, like you mentioned, the human touch. I think that's crucial to everything, because you cannot succeed if that's not there, you know. Who are you going to sell to? How are you going to be relatable to? Who are you offering solutions to?
Yeah, that's what was happening to him, that in the middle of the series, he was losing all his connections, basically, and yeah, everybody was just tired of him because he was all about himself.
All right, so now we have another question, and I feel this person is a little bit triggered by social media, so I'm not going to guess the age of this person, but they're asking, you mentioned TikTok. Do you think TikTokers, influencers are also salesmen? And if so, is the generation like that getting younger by the day?
Oh, I do have a personal answer to that, which is not very professional, but I really don't understand why we would trust these influencers. I really don't like this trend that people that just decide that they are, I don't know, they're good in makeups and they become influencers, and then the 15-year-olds start to follow them. But from a professional standpoint, I think it's a very interesting thing that we would trust someone that that a brand just buys, and I think that they are sort of a salesman, right?
But not entirely always selling the right stuff. Let's just keep it
Yes.
there, yeah. All right, well, this wraps up our conversation. I would like to thank you so much, the audience, for joining in and for asking so many awesome questions. Dénes, you did a great job. I love talking to you, and I'm pretty sure everybody at Deloitte is going to be super proud. So thank you for this, and we'll see you somewhere soon. And make sure you check out Brain Bar because we'll be sending in some really cool discussions that we've had recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Taisir. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.